Guys, welcome to another uh, training module here that I have for you guys on how to sysprep a virtual machine from a template, and we're also going to talk about clones. I'm your systems architect and trainer, Sal Cosentino. I've been in IT for about 24 years, um, and I've been working in as a contractor and trainer and for many companies. And again, I've also had the ability and to sysprep many virtual machines from templates, and we also created clones from that for different projects and stuff. So again, you sit tight, get your bag of popcorn and a glass of water. We'll be talking about um, many things here, but on our list here is sysprep. We also are going to talk about templates and we're going to talk about clones. So Sysprep, what is it? Sysprep is also known as AKA system preparation. It's a tool. Preparates a or your Windows client or Windows Server installation for imaging. So you'll kind of understand when we're creating the out-of-box experience. We're going to sysprep those machines, either a for your Windows client or Windows Server for imaging. So if I need to prepare a lab or a group of individuals for training or UAT purposes, 25 machines, let's say, this would be their best bet. So I don't have to individually create the machine and then give it the character and add the IP and join to the domains. That's a strenuous process. So again, creating sysprepping those machines will shut it down. Um, we'll shut it down completely, and then it'll be remote. Well, it won't have any memory, so you'll kind of see how that works. But again, we can also remove the PC specific information from the Windows installation. Again, by generalizing it, and you'll kind of understand what I mean by generalizing. So it can be installed on different PCs. So you'll see that word generalizing, um, so that it can be installed on different PCs. So when we do run the sysprep, you can configure whether the PC will boot in audit mode or out of box mode. Sorry, out of box OOBE. I'll talk about that in my next slide, but we also want to make sure that sysprep is part of the Windows image and runs in audit mode. Okay. So boot Windows to audit mode or OOBE. Um, so you wanna configure the Windows to boot to audit mode and add the Windows deployment reseller audit mode answering file settings. Um, You can use the audit mode to customize your computer. You can add applications and drivers, device drivers, and then test your computer in a Windows environment. So booting it to audit mode starts the computer in a built-in administrator account. So we're going to create our administrator account, which is then automatically removed during the generalized configuration pass. Uh, so generalizes basically the configuration pass of the system setup, which is used to create a Windows reference image, and that can be used throughout the organization. So following this diagram, you're running the sysprep generalize command, right? And then your generalized setting specified in the answer file. So the flow chart basically, as seen here, that'll describe how the process of the generalized configuration pass works. Um, Take this information; it's a good read. But again, when the generalized configuration pass runs, it only uses sysprep command, right? So that's where you're using the answer file settings in the generalized section are the of an answer file that just apply to the system before the sysprep generalization works. So this is great information for you guys. And again, we can specify that by a command, by switches, by like the audit switch or the OOB switch. Typically, any method of moving or copying a Windows image to a new computer must be prepared by with the Sysprep generalized command. And we're going to use the GUI in order to do that. We're not going to be Sysprepping it um, by using commands. But again, I'm going to give you guys this information. This is a good read. And I'll give you guys this information in our YouTube uh, notes and comment section. So after you configure a computer to boot in auto mode, the computer will continue to boot to auto mode by default until you configure the computer to boot to the OOBE, which is our out of box experience. Um, there's not much you need to know in terms of, you know, you know, how to basically just know what it means, especially when you're doing these specific things and you're going into an interview and you know how to explain it. Again, there's specific paths for that. You know, you can use our DISM commands from an existing image using the unattended XMLs. Again, we're not going to show you how to do that. You can transfer images to different computers, right? Again, not really important, but know these specific steps here, how to boot to the OB automatically on a new installation, using the Control Shift F3, right? So that'll reboot the computer in auto mode. So those are some great shortcut keys. Uh, I'll send you guys this info. You guys can take a look at it. But again, um, as mentioned, it is important to know when being asked in an interview or in your job interview, or if you're planning on, you know, completing your tests. Um, they do actually offer these specific types of questions, and I think additional training might be used in our Endpoint Administrator Association certificate. So if you do decide to use it, again, this is a good site to take a look at. Um, Different overviews. So this is for you guys to take a look. So these are the two different types of audit mode overviews. So when the Windows boots, it either starts again in OOBE or an audit. Here's the flow chart. Um, Again, OOB is default out of the box experience, and again, that's what it stands for. And that just allows us as end users to enter their account information. We can select the language, we can accept the Microsoft terms of service, and then set up the networking. We also have we also have auto mode, again, when we're setting up that sysprep, so which allows us to make the additional changes to the Windows installation before you send the computer to a customer, or capture the image for reuse in your organization. Again, we can install drivers, they're included in driver packages, install applications, or just make other updates that the Windows installation is required for it to run. Again, here's a little chart. Make sure you guys keep that, understand what that is. So you have your image file, which is your WIM, and that'll apply onto the reference device with the applied image. And then we can modify the reference device with customizations. And then we can generalize that, right? Sort of what I'm going to show you guys. And then we are going to reference the device generalize and then boot, and then boot it to Windows PE, which is a pre-execution environment. And then we're going to capture our new image and then apply it to the new devices. So I'll show you guys how to create multiple clones after, okay? Take a look at this, read it. Good information for you guys to use. Again, if you're taking your identity and access administration associate certificate, this is also good. Write your notes. Make sure you use this as a great study notes in case you're ever applying to a job where it's required. Yeah. Okay, so our next, so we're gonna how to create a template from a virtual machine. We want to give your template some character. So that's how we create our template. So we're not just creating a virtual machine, we're also giving that template VM some character. We don't have a laptop, and this is similar to a laptop or a desktop. So there are modifications included in the operating system. So we're going to modify and give it some character. That's my catchphrase, to something usable and similar. Our Sysprep, again, it's our virtual machine. So we're just going to hit run, Windows R key shortcut, and then we're going to type in Sysprep. The location to the Sysprep folder I'm going to show you guys is in our C Windows System 32 Sysprep folder. And again, our Sysprep is going to create a unique SID in every clone I make. So very important. I'll show you guys where to locate those unique SIDs. Those SIDs are those SIDs are our security identifiers. And again, they're created uniquely. They are different for every operating system. Okay. So the same SIDs can't be joined to the domain. So we can't use the same SID on a to join to the domain in my Active Directory environment. So interactive directory environment. So this machine will be shut down forever. How, why, and what, you ask? Again, we can prevent this VM from starting by decreasing the amount of RAM, which is another thing I'm going to show you. So you have our slider here, and then we're going to slide that all the way down. But we have to make sure we shut off the machine first. So in our workstation, at least in our workstation of the least amount of RAM we can allocate. So again, our least in this instance is 4 megabytes, as you can see in the slider. Okay, and our most is 128 GB. We're gonna create 4 clones. I'm not gonna create 4 clones in this one, but I am gonna create it in another class when I talk about how to create hypervisors and how to create an SCVMM machine on a member server. Um, we're going to create a folder in another drive. So the reason why I'm saying this is when we are creating our template machines, we're going to use our C drive, but my recommendation is to use another drive letter, and I have done that already, or another disk. Again, it could be any disk you want it to be, or on a USB. Again, do not save it in the OneDrive. I've seen a lot of people do that, as that might slow down your computer. Again, if it saves in the OneDrive, okay, and you've made changes, don't worry about it. Shut down the VM, okay? Copy the VM folder, right, in the OneDrive, and then paste with all the configuration files in it, and then paste it to a location as such a drive letter or USB. Um, Once you've done that, you need to reopen the config file. So we're going to go to our virtual machine, right? And we're going to, as we're going to create new virtual machine, um, we are going to reopen file and then open that location. So wherever that location is, we're going to open up the VMX file or supported file that's in there, right? So whatever supported files are in there. Let's see if I can find an example of one. So my virtual machine, so I have my Hyper-V machine, so we have to open up a VMX file, okay? So remember, do not open it from our OneDrive. It's no longer, again, it just wastes a lot of space, decreases performance, and slows down your computer often. Um, you can always save it as a backup to your OneDrive, but again, do not use OneDrive. Okay, so we are also going to talk about, let's see what else I'm talking about here. So again, we're going to locate our virtual machine files. Again, I showed you the different types of files. So we have our LCK, which is our log file, our VMEM files, our log files, which is our text log documents, our NVRAM, which is our virtual machine non-volatile RAM, our VMware virtual disk files, or VDMK. So you'll notice that they're split into multiple drives because we are splitting the files, uh, right? We're we're dynamically expanding them. And we have our VMware team member, which is our VMXF, And then we have our VMSD, which is our snapshot metadata file. And I'll show you guys how to create a snapshot later. Here's our drawing. Here's our architecture here. As you can see, we've created it. We're going to create our template machine, and then we're going to clone these in a cloud environment. So this is another topic, but just to kind of give you an idea, in our template machine, we're not going to add any rules or features. We'll add two disks and give it two network adapters. Here's an example of a data center. This is a data center, just a simple diagram, 3D rendering of a data center. Um, which shows all our racks and uh, our HVAC and our different uh, power supplies, electrical offices and whatnot, and what's underneath. You'll notice that it's rised underneath because there are specific heat requirements required for that. So as you can see here in the corner, they rise the floor, and that's important because these tiles do come out. So as these tiles come on underneath, you'll see a lot of piping or you'll see a lot of cable supply. There's also overhead supply, which is our cages. They look like cages, and then that'll have our fiber connections, our specific trunking cables and whatnot for the different um, MDF locations. This is just an example of two rack systems and a trunk cable attached by Tiora modules, patch panels, and adapters. Not going to talk too much about that. Again, that's a different course, upcoming course about talking about trunking cables and different two-post racks and enclosures and patch panels and whatnot. Again, this is our data center, so this will have our cooling system, our heat return, and our different electrical panels. Our transformers, below head, above head trays, and different rack systems enclosed. Okay. Um, yeah, so we this let's go to our template machine. Just so you guys understand the differences, what that means. So we are going to create a template. Our template's going to have a minimum of 2 GB. Later in our cloud in our next environment, but again, we want to give it 12 just to install the operating system. You can go ahead and give it 8 if you want, but again, in another class, what I want you guys to do is I want to give it 12 GB or even 10 GB. It doesn't matter. We are going to get move that back down to 2 minimum, and then we're going to classify our other. Um, this is another class, actual a diagram that I want to do as well, just to kind of give you guys an early preview of it. If you guys want to start with that and go ahead with that, please feel free to try it on your own time. That's installing SCVMM on a member server with different IP addresses and whatnot. Again, your IP addresses can be private IP addresses, so they don't have to be 192. They can also be 10.0, or they can be 172.16 dot zero network VLAN, and then have the host of one, two, three, whatever you want, right? It doesn't really matter. But typically in our lab environments, this is a basic lab environment. In our first machine, we really don't need a default gateway. It just points to itself, basically. So it's not like we're gonna need it. So you'll notice that it'll remove itself, but it's okay. We're not gonna create any, it's not gonna create any big issues. Again, this machine here, I'm gonna give it 200 GB, which is thin provision, which is also the same as dynamically expanding. Um, when we talk about Hyper-V, I also want to give it a 2 vCPU. I can give it one. This is just a template. The smaller the template, the better. Depends on your environment. This is, in your environment, you can have a 12 or 6, you can have a 16 GB laptop or a 32 GB laptop or even an 8 GB laptop, right? And we're talking about physical memory. physical memory, right? So you need to be aware of that. Again, we can play around with it. Even though we're giving this 2 and 6, again, it's not going to fully use it. Just make sure you have the available memory on your laptop itself for memory allocation or for reservation. Again, these machines, you'll notice the CV and our two member servers, they're going to be shut down. It's not like we're going to use it. And you'll notice when I do that, I'll show you guys how to do that as well. May seem confusing at first, but this is pretty straightforward. But for today, what I want you guys to learn is how to create a template. This is very, very important because I can create multiple clones at once, especially when I'm working on this specific project. And this is it's to install SCVMM. Um, and then install our hypervisors, Hyper-V, on a specific server CMV01. So remember, just to create a VM one at a time, it is time consuming. So to have a template and just create clones makes much more sense. So even if I have a group of new users coming in and I want 25 new users to start using VMs, using a template and creating 25 clones makes sense, right? Because then I can always just change the physical RAM and add the specific OBE settings if I wanted to, and so forth, right? And give it that character that I need. Sometimes, it's better to have your golden image. They say, install your golden image with all your applications and then template that machine. Yeah, that you can also do that too. But in this instance, we don't need applications. We're just going to install the operating system and create in this instance, we're just going to create our domain name and we're going to recreate our domain admin accounts and add the specific roles to the servers, right? Because that's going to be our server with AD and DNS and DHCP. And our next three servers are going to have also be member servers, right? So our member servers are enterprise, but not meant to be VC. They're enterprise apps, right? Such as SVMM, but they're not meant to be a domain controller, okay? But they are joined to the domain and they can communicate with each other, right? Or they can also be standalone as well, which are not joined to any control centralized authority. Again, it's not important right now, but I just want to give you guys a feature sneak peek to that, and that way we can you guys will have that ready for that next video that I want to create. Um, templates again, templates. Let's build one together. We are going to build one together. I just want to go through the to make you guys aware of what it does. What does it take to create our first virtual machine? It may be daunting. Again, what is this machine? Okay, we've got a template machine. We're going to create it. What is that? uh, it's just going to be called our first name or whatever template machine, right? How much hard disk do I give it? Well, typically you can give it from 100 to 200. In this instance, I'll give it 150. Okay. It's a small machine. I don't need much data. All I want it to hold is the operating system. Again, I can add more disks, which is what I want to do. So I'm going to add more disks here, right? Right. And I also want to give it two network adapters. So I'm just going to give it the two network adapters. And this is just a temp fix. Just copy that. So I can go to my diagram here. Take the picture. So, so again, I am going to take, let's see, I want to take one of these and one of these. Copy. And I'm going to put that here. That's fine. I can always search for those or try it. Let's see if I can drag it. Or let that to me. Okay, it's not. That's fine. No problem. So let's take a picture of that. Let's zoom in. Take a snapshot of that. Instead, um, format down here. Let's go to the picture back here. Let's go to zoom in. Take a picture of that. It's a little bit bigger. Take a snapshot of that. Picture. So this is going to be our network adapter. We got our network adapters. Perfect. Stop right there. And then I'm going to grab my hard disk. Okay. Move that away. And then I'm going to copy and paste that. Okay. Here's my disk. So this is going to be my disk here. Perfect. Take my disk here. We'll go back to our drawings. Oh, we'll go back to our drawing board, which is our right here, and then press this. So again, guys, this is our disk here. I'll put my disk here. Well, I can make it smaller. So this is going to be our disks, right? And I will have a copy of that. Paste. And then I'll also add another network card. The network card. So this is going to be for NIC teaming, or one's for internet, for RDP, and one's going to have a virtual network. I think I've already explained what the differences are, and I'll kind of explain to you what those are. Um, yeah. So where in networking, VMware networking, we can use NAT protocol, we can use bridge network, we can use custom virtual, which is our virtual network, which is our sort similar to our VLAN, but in this instance we call it VMware Net, where there's 19 different networks starting from 1 to 19, where 8 being NAT, or 1 being host name, if I'm not mistaken. So if I'm going to our settings here in one of our client machines, um, you know, we have our bridged, our NAT, our host only, our custom, and I think VMware 0 to 19, and then VMware 1 is our host only, and then VMware 8 is our NAT. Um, so again, you know, it, understand the differences in how that works, especially how it gets an IP. Um, like for example, you know, it's a little bit smaller. Okay. So for example, our NAT protocol, again, it's exposed to, it's not exposed to your whole network. It just gets the IP from the dish that's sitting inside the VMware Workstation Pro. And it grabs the internet from the physical network and it just gives us the internet. So you'll notice that if we do have NAT, it just gives us internet. It gives us that gateway towards the internet, right? So it's used to share host IP addresses. Again, it sort of acts like a public IP, the private IP translation. That's how the NAT network address translation works. We don't need to purchase any public IPs for our machines. And again, our public IPs are all right, just can give us that internet connection with the help of the protocol NAT to over as many private IP based VMs that we need. I've also explained the three different types of IP ranges, our 10.0.0 and then our 172.16.0.0. And again, these non-routable we can use for static IP when we're creating our private ranges. And we also have a 192.168.0.0. Again, our bridge network, um, again, that's connects directly to our physical network. It's a no-no, especially in a public environment like our schools. You don't want to use your bridge network. This is normally used from your home or company DSL router from your physical network. Behind it, you're not really exposed to your home network. But again, we're not going to use bridge network. We're going to use custom, which is our next one. Again, the 19 different networks that I showed you, and that'll separate independent networks and the machines inside that can communicate with each other, but can't communicate. But again, this one can't communicate outside of this network with any other network. VMnet 4 virtual machines cannot communicate with VMnet 13 virtual machines. So to have this two different machines within that environment, and let me get my drawing board here. Let's get here. Okay. Right. So let's see. We have a switch, right, with different ports on it. Again, all right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is our 8-port switch, right? And with VMware Net, we can actually split those to different machines. So we can have our machine groups, right? So this could be our VMnet 4 or 3, and this can be our VMnet 10, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter, right? All right, you could set up those accordingly. Let me grab my pencil. So again, if I had multiple drives here, again, they cannot communicate with each other, right? So the group of machines that you create must be in the same VNet in order to communicate, okay? So it doesn't matter what port it connects to, right? They can still communicate with each other, okay? So in this case, VMnet 3 connects to port 1, and this VM machine connects to port 2. Again, these two can communicate with each other, and these two cannot communicate with each other, okay? Very straightforward, very easy. It's to delegate administration of your devices. So understand what VMnet is. Similar to VLANs. So I'm sure you guys heard what VLANs are. They're virtual LAN networks. Again, very similar. Okay. Um, so again, host only, we're not going to be using it. It's not really exposed to your physical network, doesn't give you internet connection. Again, it's just a lonely machine in VMware Workstation. So host only uses a private network shared with the host. We also have LAN segment. We can again start, stop, restart a group of machines together. And again, we can maintain them that way. Okay, we're not going to use that. Next, let's see. What did we talk about next? So, talked about that. We talked about that. So how much hard disk space do you want to give it? Again, we're going to create 2 disks with 150 GB. One is going to be our main disk. Right? We're not going to create RAID. And then another one's going to be for our storage or applications or whatever you want it to be, or virtual machines. We can create virtual machines within here as well too to segregate administration. And then again, one network adapter will you need to use, right? We can use either NAT or via network, via net. Okay, I've explained both of those to you. And then again, we can use this for NIC teaming, or we can use one for internet and one for virtual for VLANs, for let's say remote You can use it for remote desktop control, right? And then the other one you can use for whatever you want, right? For heartbeat nick, so that it, you know, sends unalive packets to the main machine, right? In this instance, I think we're gonna call one our local and then one our, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to create one local and one internet network. So one's going to be our internet network and our local network on our host only network, and then internet network with the network card on NAT or bridge network, right? So again, we can do any of those. So once our network cards are named, then we can make sure that we have internet by going to Internet Explorer and opening a page. But I'll get to that point when we get to that point, right? So very straightforward, very easy. Just being stressed out again. We don't need internet here, so you don't really need your adapters. So we could just have a NAT or a VMware NAT, and then keep those accordingly to that aspect. Okay. So we're we're also going to install our operating system, and I'll show you guys how to do that. Um, we're going to install the Windows Server ISO installation, and in this instance, I'm going to use Windows 2016. You can use whatever Windows version you want. You can use Windows 10 too. We can also do Windows 10 or 11. It's up to you. But in this instance, I'm going to use Windows Server. So Windows 11. Windows 11. um, We're going to, again, select the data and date for United States, Canada. That's it. That's just the only difference that we're going to do. And then we're also going to choose our data center GUI for that specific server version. We're going to create an administrator account. Again, this administrator account can be called whatever you want it. You can even change it just so that you're not using the administrator account, because this will be your template that we're going to use for that. In different environments, we have something called, IT admin or Toronto admin or, Montreal admin or Boston admin. That way, that'll segregate that account based on the administrator account. And we're not locking ourselves out. When we are asked for passwords, remember, put a super memorable password, save that password, and do not give that out to uh, everybody. I stress that out. You can use different, vaults. There's some great applications that you can use to store your passwords if you want, or you can write them down, store them in your phone, store them in a notepad, or store them in a notepad plus plus, or you can store them wherever you want on your phone or anywhere you want, or even on the cloud somewhere. And make sure you save those passwords, okay? Because those are very, very important. Again, once installed, we're going to test that login with our administrator account. Okay. I think we can create one called, we'll create one called Toronto admin. Doesn't matter. Again, I just want to create Toronto admin, or you can create your first name admin. You can create whatever you want it to be. And we're also going to our next topic. That again, we're gonna add character, but we are gonna start by building one. So that's our first thing that we're gonna do. We're gonna go back to our drawing board, which is our VMware Workstation Pro, and we are going to create a clone. I've already created a clone. I mean, a template here and clone and sysprepped it, and then I haven't created the clone yet. But again, this is sort of an example of one that I've created. With us, we're going to create a Windows 11 one. Okay, this is actually a server 2016. So what we'll do in this one, we'll create two. We'll create one Windows 11 and one server machine. Okay. So let's go to our drawing board here. So let's create a new one. This one's going to be our server, and then we're going to create our Windows 11. So this one is 2016. Click next. We're going to name it whatever we want. This is going to be our VM um, uh, template. right? And then the date. So I know that this, you don't have to do that, but again, or you can do location. You do Canada or US, whatever you want, right? Based on the data residency. So this one's going to be in Canada. And then we'll put our date today. Today's the 30th September. Use numerical numbers here. All right. So that's going to be our template machine. And this one is going to be, we'll call this VM server. And then one will be called client. We're going to browse to a drive. Make sure you have the space allocated for it. Very important. Again, you could save it to your C drive. You could save it to, do not save it to your OneDrive. If you do, shut the machine off by accident and then copy it over and then open up the VMX folder. Okay, so in this instance, I'm going to open this folder here and then create a new folder inside, and I'm going to call this template server template. And then okay, and then I'm going to give it Canada. I'm going to call it Canada for residency. So we know that one's in Canada. So this machine, this server is going to be located in Canada, and then the client's going to be located in the States. Okay, so I'm going to create another folder for us, and I'm going to create a new folder in this new folder. We name this the templates. So again, it doesn't matter how you do it, just make sure you have your specified um, nomenclature and how you save things and how it's organized so that you know where it is. And again, always good to create that. Again, we can create we can call this prototypes too if you want. Template prototypes. Again, prototypes and then templates and templates. This will be our prototype template. This one here is going to be our template today. And show that, and then make this a little bit nicer. Right, so that's going to be our machine, our template machine for server. And then within our templates, we're going to create another one, another folder, and I'm going to name this a client. So it's going to be our VM client. All right, and this is going to be in US data center, USD, and then our templates. Okay, and this one's going to have it's going to be Windows 11. So we're gonna have that server is our first one. Make sure we have that path properly. And then we are going to click next. So our server is ready to go. Again, let's just give it 150. Doesn't matter. I'll add a separate disk. We can do RAID, whatever you want. So again, it's up to you. For our servers, we can add RAID. For our clients, we don't really need it. We're just going to make this a as light as possible. We can store the disk as a single file or a multiple file, which will split it into 4 GB max files. So you have, 25 files of one VM split into 4 GB each. Typically, it doesn't matter. Like we typically use this when we're creating we create single files instead, but in our lab environment, I'm just going to create multiple files. Again, it's up to you how you want to create them. Okay, just remember in our lab environment, we don't have a lot of our performance isn't the best again, so we just want to allocate as much or reduce as much performance as possible with very large disks. So in this instance, I'm going to split it. And we are going to, again, give it, as we discussed in our, we're going to give it 12 GB or 8 GB. And then we're going to decrease that later. Uh, First disk and second disk, 150. Yes. So we're going to add our second disk. And we're gonna change our network adapter. We're gonna add another network adapter. We're gonna make one VM net and then one NAT. And that's gonna be based on the VLAN that you want to set it up on. So our design, our architecture here is a little bit better, is a little bit easier. That way, we don't have to make changes to the machines. Again, it's a laptop, it's a desktop. The more RAM, the more you have, the better it is, right? So I'm going to give it 8, as I discussed. And again, I want you guys to note that this is very important as well too. Um, when you're designing, that is 1 GB of RAM is equal to 1024 megabytes. Very important, a little bit of a mathematical thing. So for every gigabyte of RAM you add, is a 1024. I think in this version here, it asks for megabytes. It doesn't allow for GB, but I know in vSphere and in our vSphere vCenter clients, you're able to change those, and you're able to give it different, allocate the GB or through MB. But in this instance, we're going to be using, if you're using, I think, Oracle as well too, you can change that in GB if I'm not mistaken. You might have to quote me on that, but again, you make the changes however you want. So I can allocate as much as I want to this. So I want to give it 8, and then I also want to, again, you can leave it to 1, but I also want to virtualize the Intel VTX chip, because for my next project, I want to, um, in a cloud environment, I want to uh, install hypervisors. So these are all going to act as hypervisors that will communicate with each other. Typically you can add one, you can always change it. It's up to you, but for no particular reason, I give it 2 CPU and then 1 core per processor. We're not gonna add our ISO here, so we can add our ISO. So our ISO is here, and I will give it 2016, like I said. So that's going to be our ISO. Our network adapter is going to be, your first network adapter is going to be, for no particular reason, it doesn't matter. You can put it wherever you want. So in this case, I'll put it in VMnet, I don't know, 15, 14, 13, 10. Okay. And then our VMnet, we're at 10. Make sure that you make note of that. And then we're going to add another one. So, and then we're going to also add our disks. As you can see, we can't add our disk just yet because we haven't really created anything. There's no operating system. It's just a blank machine. Once we've created the files, it'll automatically create our hard disk, and then we can add our second hard disk if we needed to. So in this case, we're going to add our second adapter. Okay. And then our second adapter is going to act as our NAT adapter, or we can also add it as our VMware NAT 8. Again, it's totally up to you. Uh, in this case, I'm just going to give a NAT for no particular reason. Okay. And then click close. And then finish. So we've now created our template machine. We choose it to 10, and we gave it 8 GB. One more. Okay. And we gave it 2 vCPUs. We've enabled our virtualized Intel VTX ETPT or AMD, which we selected, our network adapter, and we're going to also, when we sysprep our machine, we're going to move that down. So our template is now created. Our next step is, once that's created, as you can see, it created the hard disk. We can edit those settings, and we're going to add our second or third or whatever, as many disks as we want. If you guys are willing to do RAID, again, you need at least a minimum of 3 disks. And I think I've already discussed that when we're creating the different RAIDs. So for this one, we can create a RAID 0 with 2 drives, right? Where it kind of acts like uh, our source and destination drive, right? Or we can just use it for RAID 1. But again, if we are using RAID 5, we need at least three disks. If we're doing RAID 6 or 10, we need at least 4. So in this instance, we might just use our RAID configuration, but I'm not going to create it. I'll have another video on RAID itself. But just for this instance, I'm just going to leave it as is, and then create the 2 disks. Okay. You guys want to create RAID? I won't be creating RAID, but again, um, there will be a future video on how to create RAID. Okay. This is just the template machine. So, um, so we're going to add our second disks. All right. And we are going to use the recommended ask of it. And we're going to click next. And we are going to create a new disk. We're not going to reuse any previously configured disks, right? Or we're not going to use our physical disk. We're just going to create our new virtual disk, which is composed of, the different files on our host file system. So that'll appear as a single hard disk to the guest OS. And then again, virtual disks, we can copy or move them on the same hosts or between hosts. Okay. Very important to know. So this one here, I'm going to create the 150. Again, doesn't matter for no particular reason. I'm not going to allocate all this space for now. I want to split those into a single file. Again, allocating or virtual or multiple files, right? So again, allocating all disk space. We allocate the full capacity to enhance performance. Not really important right now. Well, this is a test environment, but it requires all the physical disk space to be available. We don't typically want to do that. So if you're not allocating the space now, the virtual disk starts small and it grows as we add data. So it's an alternate option for you guys to use. So again, for no particular reason, I'm going to use this just because it's better performance and very important. In a production environment, we can use the single file, okay? Because obviously our servers are going to have more space and data. So again, on our laptops, we need to be mindful. Remember, when we are designing let's go back to our drawing board here. So we are, if we're zooming into our picture here, right? We, the admin, right, are logging into our laptops and opening up our hypervisor, our virtualization machine, which is our Workstation Pro. You can have, again, Oracle hypervisor, whatever you want. I have videos on that so you guys can create those. Uh, know how to create those in other videos that I have in my series on how to become a professional an IT professional in a matter of days or from 0 to 100. So just remember when you're creating those machines, we are creating. So remember, we're not using the physical hard drive space, um, right? But we are using the space. We're not using like we're not going to use all the physical space. So again, even if we're adding 150, 200 terabytes, or even 2 terabytes, we're not going to use all those terabytes, even if our laptops are 512 GB. So just be mindful in creating that space, and it's on a separate drive with terabytes upon terabytes upon terabytes. In this case, it's your laptop. You might have 512, you might have a terabyte, you might have an extra USB, right? So just make sure you have that space for these 4 machines because we will be creating. Again, our minimum is, as more data is added, as we create more um, virtual machines in the future with me, you will create space on that disk, C drive or D drive or E drive or F drive or Z drive or X drive, wherever drive you want to name it, or USB drive. Remember, we're not doing this on our OneDrive. So um, again, we will be creating that space, right? So make sure you have enough space for you to use. Very important, very, very, very important. I don't care where you get that space, go and buy it. Wherever you go and buy it, look for it and make sure you have that enough space. you're building your future environment, you're building your future. It's also good for training, for practice, for troubleshooting something, especially having it on your own environment at work. You can troubleshoot on your own, right? Even if you don't have those that specific environment or access to the environment at work, due to the permissions, you're able to create these here and show them and showcase that you're able to do that, right? um Very good for training, very good for troubleshooting, exam preparation, interview preparation, especially when you're talking to those managers, right? um so that's just a little bit about um how that works. Okay, so what is next? Let's see. uh in here, if I again. And okay, so with that being said, so, should have it. There you go. So again, here's a picture of a data center. Very clean, very um, you know, again, everything is pristine here, as you can see. Um, Very important, especially when we're creating our data centers here. Um, Again, I've been doing this for a long time. So trust the process, work with me, get your own environment done, take pictures, email me, put it on WhatsApp, show me that you're able to do it. Again, if you have any questions, add me to my WhatsApp group. Add yourself to the WhatsApp group. I'll just tell me what video you watched, who you are, and I'll add you to that. Please like and subscribe that too as well, because you guys will learn a lot from this series here. So if we go back, we again, for no particular reason, I am going to split the disks. Again, it makes it easier to move it, copy and pasting, transferring files. I think I spoke about, um, in earlier class, in earlier videos. I think it was the Hyper-V one. Um, so, think that I spoke about that. Give me 1 second. Again, oh yeah, the best practices. When you're creating the best practices, um, you're saving especially in VMware environment, you're saving the in this ESXi, you're saving the VMware files in the ESXi in the data store itself. So, so within this virtual machine, you know, in our virtual machine, we have our virtual machine, which is our virtual disk, right? Um, and then on top of that, we have our VMFS, which is sort of our similar to NTFS file NTFS. So that right there, on top of that hard disk, we'll have our data store, and then that's where we'll have it stored. Um, its best practice is to do that and not to save it onto the server itself, because you don't want the server to grow. You want to be able to locate it on the data stores or on the LUNs, right? So they're shared between the LUNs. So our best, again, our um, best bet is not to save our V disks need to be shared on the lens, right? That's another course, especially when we're talking about SAN or we're talking about VMware, rather than save it onto our local physical disk, right? Or V disk, right? On our machine. And then we have our NTFS file system. So in again, just make sure we're saving, like our best practice is to save it on our LUN, right? And then share it across our LUNs. That way it's easily accessible for us to review that. So when I do talk about VMware, I'll explain a little bit more about that, and we'll talk about type 2 hypervisors, type 1 hypervisors, you know, where they should be installed, and et cetera, the difference between a local disk, a physical disk, a virtual disk, and the different file systems. Um, again, so yeah, that's another topic. Okay, so we're going to split the virtual disk into multiple files. I want them split into 4 GB files, which makes it easier to move, and it just reduces the performance right now, especially because we don't have enough performance to talk. So our Canadian data center server is created. I'm gonna click finish. We're gonna create that template, and we're gonna hit OK. So our template is now complete. Now that we have our template, again, we're gonna give it we're gonna turn the machine on, and we're gonna add character to it, and install the OS. So we're gonna install the OS first, and mount that OS. So I'm gonna mount the ISO to the CD DVD of our virtual machine in the settings of the VM. Okay. And then we're going to start the Windows Server ISO installation. In this case, it's going to be 2016, or I can use Windows 11 for our second machine. And then we're just going to give it our character here, our four different types of characters. Um, and that's it. So let's go ahead and do that together. So I'm going to power on the machine. I've mounted this ISO. Right, it's in there. I use the ISO image file, cancel, and then power on the machine. So this is going to be a little bit quicker. Again, you got to click into this black area here, and then hit a letter, any key to continue, and that'll move from our CD DVD. Oh, too slow there. Okay, so Control Alt to get out. Right, we're gonna we're gonna shut down the guest. Do not power off the guest or reset the guest. We can also power on the firmware or BIOS, and then set up our BIOS, configure our BIOS, which is what I also want to show you. I think I showed you guys in another video, but I'm going to show you guys again. And then we are going to click inside of it and move the cursor down to CD-ROM, SATA CD-ROM drive, and then click next, and then boot, and then hit a button, and then that'll load all the files. And we are ready to install our server. So again, you got to be very mindful. You got to pay attention. Click into the area, black area of the screen, right? And then Control Alt on your keyboard to remove Alt of the machine, so you're able to control your laptop or environment. So again, double click, and then you can move your cursors, your keyboard up and down as well, or use your mouse. In this case, we're just going to change the time and currency, as I noted. So let me see if I can make this a little side by side here, and then put our instructions on one side here. Okay. So we're going to select the time and date. Actually, it's not the time and date. It's the time and currency. English, Canada. That's the only change we want to make here. All right. We're going to leave our language to install and our keyboard and input methods as is. So we're going to move this up to English Canada. A little bit should be there. There we go. And then we're going to click next. and we're going to install now. So again, we're going to select our data center version based on the server, Windows Server version we have. So we're going to use our data center GUI selection, right? If we use the other ones, uh, this one uses, I think they're called server cores. So the server core version doesn't use the GUI, it uses PowerShell command or command prompt stuff, DOS stuff. So it's a little bit lighter on the machine, but it strictly uses command line. So if you are deciding to try that, again, create a machine. Yeah, we can create a machine without the GUI, right? But it doesn't allow us to fully manage the server locally or remotely with the PowerShell or the tools, right? So we want to use like I mentioned, I want to use the desktop experience, right? Which provides our backward compatibility for application, right? We can't run on the server core installation. So again, all the servers features are all supported here. So again, we're going to use the data center, not the standard desktop experience. Okay. Our architecture is still 64. And we're going to leave it as 64. And then we're going to click next. All right, we're going to accept the license terms. You can scroll through this if you'd like to, read it. All right. This will have all the explanations as to licensing terminologies. If you want to learn a little bit more on physical core, containers, web workloads, this will have all the um, definitions, cluster nodes, rights, usages, stuff and whatnot. It's good to read if you'd like. This will also talk about CALs. I think we talked about CALs, which is our client access licensing. So you have to acquire and assign those CALs. I think it was the 2003 server where we're able to manage that. And then the hardware partition or blade is considered to be a sub. So the CALs, which is our client access license, permits 2-year instance or early versions, but not later versions of the server software. So if you're accessing instances of earlier versions, you may also want to use CAL correspondence to that. You don't need CALs for any of your servers licensed to run instances of server software or up to 2 devices and so forth. Again, just read that if you want. It's up to you. Um, there's different types of CALs. Uh, Again, permanently, temporarily, uh, you know, Active Directory Rights Management Services CALs. If you guys want to take a look at that, multiplexing, very important. So, you know, what multiplexing is, you're going to hear that a lot. Port connections, rewriting informations, font components, maximum instances, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we're going to click next. In this instance, we're not going to upgrade or migrate from 2012 to 2016 or 2016 to 2019 or 2012. We are going to create a new machine for our templates. And we're going to select the custom. I'm not going to format any of the machines right now because I don't need to. I could if I want to, but I'm not. I'm just going to click next. Again, just click new if you want to. Right? And then allocate the space. So for example, I just want 100 GB. Okay, let's just do that. Let's just allocate 100 GB, right? So we're going to go to our calculator, right? Right. I want to I want to format only 100 uh 100 GB of it. So I will format 100 and then leave the other space for 50. So let's say 75, 75. Okay. So I'll do 75. So 75 times 124, 1024, right? Times 75 equals, and that's 76,800. Right? So out of 153,600, we're going to go half that. And again, we'll do this in megabytes. Right? And then apply. And then we're going to create additional, again, Windows might create additional partitions. Yeah, it probably will. Yeah, for system reserves. Right. And create those partitions and whatnot for that specific drive one, right? Like our recovery, our system, and our MS servicer systems. This is by default. It won't take the full 75 sometimes. Again, it'll just create those specific recovery files. And then I'll also have the other unallocated space, and I can, extend those or extend our primary drives if I want to, right? Again, um, it's good sometimes, to do that if you need to extend it. So make sure that you have your um how you want to install it and your different drives, allocation drives and partitions set up properly, especially if you're going to allocate the remaining space that's there. Okay, and then we're going to click next and then copy the Windows files. I'll be right back. This might take a few minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm just going to put you guys on hold and I'll be right back. Okay, guys, welcome back. So the machine looks like it's been, the OS has been started. So we are in, created that machine. Install. Okay. So again, our username here by default is obviously it creates our administrator account, but we are going to create by default, right? We are going to create another user and disable the admin account and create a copy of the admin account and call him Toronto admin. So we're gonna create our administrator account, right? By default. We're gonna create then we are going to create another user and disable the admin account, the administrator account. Um, and then create a copy of the admin account and call him or her or they or call the user Toronto admin. So we're going to create the administrator account, right? Give it a password. That's going to be just used temporary just to turn it back on. We can actually modify that. But in this case, we're going to just copy the administrator account that we're going to use and give it a password, right? And then disable the other one, right? So when it asks for a password, I want you guys to put a super memorable password that is easily to remember because you will be using it throughout the whole company and everybody, all the IT group or administrators that are using that should be able to know what that password is, and it's easy for them to recognize. Again, everybody's going to have a unique name, or you can have your username again, or global admin name, or whatever, or domain name that you have based on the built-in roles and features that you're given. In a real environment, it's the do not trust anyone approach. So, have the contractors with the least privileges role, the least privileges, role privileges, especially for PIM, especially when you're giving roles. And be mindful to who you're giving those out to. So again, once we've installed it, we're going to test our login with the administrator account and which is we're going to probably do that first, and our Toronto admin. Okay. So, so we're going to create our administrator account by default first. And then let me break this down for you guys. So we have, all right. So let's create together. Your administrator account by default, which is by default. All right. Which is by default first. And again, we are going to create another user, right? And disable the administrator account and then, right? But, and then disable it and then call the new user Toronto admin. So we are going to create another user account and create a copy of the administrator account. That new user is going to be that. And then disable the administrator and call the new user Toronto admin. Where it asks for a password, put a super memorable password. Again, make sure you guys know where that password is put. Seen a lot of companies, people I've talked to, in the past, they all said, hey, students, they all said, hey, where I work, we use this application, or we use, OneNote, or we store it in a server or local drive or shared folder. That's just strictly for us. Okay, fine. Whatever works, as long as everybody who is part of your team has access to it, right? So we're going to create together your administrator account, which is by default. And again, you'll see it in a second. Then we're going to create another user account and create a copy of the administrator account, basically, and then disable the administrator and call the user Toronto admin. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to give it a password. Right. Eventually, we're going to disable this because we don't want to use this in our template machines. We can also always add that. The administrator should be able to add that, or our domain admin should be able to add that. But we're not. So we are going to disable this after, but I need to do the modifications first. So we're gonna, right? But in this case, we're just gonna change our username and then do the modifications. So let's do that. All right. So with that being said, we're gonna log in with our new password. I typically in my classes have class passwords. Again, it's up to you if you want to use it. Um, this is a lab environment. So again, in a production environment, we have like, you know, generators that we can use upon generators, or we can, um, you know, but in this case, we can create a class password together, and we can do that if you want, so that, we all know the password. If you need help, you can always ask me. We know what the password is. Um, Again, it's totally up to you. I use class passwords. It's up to you. Not recommended, but class password for today is your first name, right? And then your first name, and then um, you know a series of numbers, right? Again, like a series of numbers can be right, and then a series of symbols, right? So your first name, symbols, and then a series of number, right? So again, it's up to you, right? But in this one, we can call it first name. We could call season, right? So the season, and then we could do year, right? So that'd be first name, season, year, right? So this case, it would be Sal. Season is fall, and then the year is 2024, right? So that's going to be my password for today. So again, um, we logged in. Um, we've logged in. I'm not going to add the character just yet. I just want to create the username. So we're able to log in. And I also want to now open up our computer management first, or a local user. So we're going to open up our computer management, and we're going to create a new user, right, in our local users and groups, right? And then I can create a copy of this. This one already has a password set. So we can set a password here, or we can, you know, add a new user. So we'll add a new user. It won't allow us to copy. So we'll call this one Toronto admin. I mean, AD. Again, this is all done through AD, but because this template here should be able to make this uniform throughout, so the whole company might be able to use this. And then this would be Toronto admin, right, for Canada, and then our class password, right? So I put in my class password, right, and you're going to put your class password in. We're not going to change that. This password never expires. It's a service account. And user cannot change the password. So only the admin can change the password if he wants. And we're not going to disable this account yet, but we are going to disable the other account. So let's put the password in again. So first name, season, last name, and then the year. All right, and then create, and close. And then we are going to disable the administrator account. So we're going to go to the properties and we are going to disable that. Password never expires. User cannot change. User can change. And then he's part of the administrators group. That's all we can add right now locally because we're not part of the domain. And we are no user profiles, desktop services, not yet. Session, no, general. So we're good to go. And hit OK. Right, so our account is now disabled, and this is enabled. Right. So we are going to now sign out and sign back in. I know. Right. And then hit our Control Delete, and then sign in as our Toronto admin. That is going to be our administrator. So we've done that. So that's good. Let's get out of that. And then our next steps, once we've done that, we logged in with our new administrator account, right? Where we're going to create our templates. And then that's going to be our Toronto admin. So this is where we're going to add some character to your VMs, where we can make changes to that and modifications. We'll be making changes or mods to those mods uh, to our private lab. We're not going to rename our machine. I don't want to rename it. It doesn't matter. I can leave it as is. Um, our VMware tools, we are going to install it, so we need to ensure we have internet. We're going to use the setting already pre-configured, or you can use the packages vmware.com. Again, I did give you guys two adapters for internet. Um, then firewall, again, we're going to turn off the firewall. So the two profiles, the private and public. And then there's two different methods of doing that. We'll go through that. We're going to change the time zone in our UTC time zone if we haven't. So in my case, it'd be US Canada -5 UTC. We're going to talk about shared folders, not the shared folders. I'm also going to talk about shared folders in settings. Actually, we're going to actually create that in the Active Directory because I want you guys to learn that as well. So we're going to go to our Active Directory, okay, and split these two screens. And I'm going to show you guys how to create organization units in our data center. So we're going to call it shared folders, right, in our data center, and we're going to put it in all our one in our Canadian data center and one in our US data center. Again, we can create shared folders for Boston, we can create shared folders for New York, we can create shared folders for Toronto, Ontario, Quebec, on Montreal, and so forth and so forth. But in this case, I'm just going to show you an example of how to create it. And in our Canada data center, we're going to create our HR department, right? Folder. We're going to create one for finance and we're going to create one for IT. And that's going to be accessible throughout the data center. Okay, so let's create a data center. I'll show you guys how to do that. And then I'm going to show you guys how to ensure, how to protect the containers from accidental deletion. And then we're going to create the shared folders inside for HR department, for IT department, and for finance department. So those three folders we're gonna put on our desktop for now. Doesn't matter where you put it. You could put it on a second hard disk or whatever VM you want. So we can put it on our second hard drive that we have. But in this case, I didn't think I have one. Let me check. So let's see how many disks I have here. I don't have another disk here, so it doesn't matter where you put it. We can put it in the downloads or the desktop. So in this case, we'll put it in the desktop. So I'm going to create 3 folders, right? I'm going to call this HR department, right? Enter. And then I'm going to create another folder. I'm going to call this IT department, right? And then I'm going to create another folder. I'm going to call this finance department, right? And then within here, I'm just going to create subfolders. We're going to call it resume 1, for payroll, new folder, and then legal. So it just doesn't matter what it is. Again, it's all there. And then we'll call one for termination. Termination. Call one onboarding. Okay, so these are the 5 folders. Again, there's folder. It doesn't matter what's in here. I can put anything I want in here. I can even let's put a resume in here. So you can put a resume and give this to the recruiters, right? Let's see if we can add some files here from our here. Let's give it a folder here. So we'll give it, I don't know. We'll just create a new one, so I can just create anything here. So I'll create a text folder, and I'll call this for accounting, and then legal, and then so that'll have some sort of data inside of it that way, right? And this will say, let's say, whatever, we'll call this monster. New folder, Indeed. I'm just building up a fictitious environment here. So we created these 3 folders. Again, these are just fictitious folders with different departments and what interactive directory. So um, again, we've created these inside the server itself, and we're gonna map the name and the server paths to that, so that way we have access to that. That way we know where each is. And then we've created the 3 folders with data inside of it, doesn't matter. And then we're going to call the shared folders Canada Data Center and US Data Center. Okay, so we're going to create those 2 we'll use right now. So let's go to our AD's infrastructure here. And within our Canadian Data Center, we're going to create we're going to create a OU, and we're going to protect the container from accidental deletion. Very important. Again, this is for you guys to kind of understand how this works. And this will be shared folders, shared folders. Again, you don't have to call it exactly. You can give it nomenclature. You can give it CDSF, right? Which is only for you. And then your company and date, like, doesn't matter. The nomenclature. It all depends on how the company has it set up. But I'm going to make this as easy as possible so that you guys understand that. So this is our Canadian data center shared folder. OU. So I'm going to copy that because I'm going to create another one and hit OK. And then I'm going to go to our US data center and I'm going to create a new OU, right? And I'm going to call this US data center, right? And then hit OK. So inside this shared folder, I'm going to create another shared folder. So this is where we create another container. And then we're going to go to new and create our shared folder container. So we're going to give this, we're going to call one HR department, right? And then give it our server path. So our server path is scdc svr slash C dollar. Let's see where we got this here. Let's get the path here. So this one would be CDC SVR, enter C dollar, right? Or I can just go like this, get the name. Let's do this command prompt here. Command prompt, enter. We'll do host name, enter. So that's our server name, SCDC SRV. Copy that. Copy that. And then go to our here location and then paste, right? And then our path. So let's go to our path. So where is our path? Our path is in our desktop. So we can just call it HR. It doesn't matter. We'll just call it HR department. Right. And then hit OK. All right. So that's our HR department. Right. Right. And we can give it protect that, right? And then give it the different resources permissions, right? So that can also be done as well too. Apply the changes. We can also add the attributes. So again, we can add those attributes. We can add those attributes that we talked about last time, our country, right? So we can always add those. That was in another class that I had. Take a look at that video for that option. And then let's just create another one. So we'll create HR department and we will delegate the control and then give it the permissions that we want. So we'll create a new shared folder and we'll call this IT department. And then we'll give it the server path name, right? And then the name of the folder, which would be IT department, right? And then hit OK, right? So I can take the properties of this too. And so go to sharings, copy. That's what I'll do here. And then I'll give that path, right? T, oh, T properties, right? And then go like this. Paste. This is going to be our IT department. So we have to go back, right click, IT properties, sharing, take the path, copy, and then, yeah, that's shared. Again, we're sharing it to everyone so that everyone's able to see it, and then click share, and then done, right? And then once that's done, I'm going to click close, right? Because I want everybody to access it from other machines. So this one here is IT department. So I'm going to copy and paste and then click apply. We're going to protect that security. Again, add the securities. In this case, it doesn't matter. It depends on the roles. You can add the specific permissions, right? Your auditing permissions and special controls, right? Your ACLs, again, based on the domain admins accessing it, or we can change it based on the owner of that. So whoever the owner is has access to that. We also add the attributes. like I showed you guys in another class, but we can add our country code so that way we don't have to add it in after. In this case, I don't really care. I don't need it right now. You guys can go ahead and make those decisions later. Um, doesn't matter. So again, whoever manages it, we're gonna put the manager here, the name of it, where the team, the department, the group, IT group, whoever wants to manage it, and then click next. So that's our IT department. Okay, so once that's done, we're also going to change the HR department again. So I have to go here. Let me make this a little bit bigger here. HR department, right? Properties. I'm going to take the sharing, turn the sharing on, make myself or whoever I want to share. In this case, I want everybody to access it for testing. And click done. And then copy this path word for word, letter for letter, and then change that here. And then what's that? And then apply. The object is protected, and then apply, and then hit OK. We're going to create one more. New shared folder. We're going to create one for HR, not HR, finance, right? And then we're going to click close on that one, right click, properties, sharing, copy that path. And then in this case, I just want the admin, myself, finance department. I'm not going to add the everyone permission. And then click OK. Okay, so and then the same thing for here. I'm going to create another one. I'll create the same 3 local paths. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to go to new. I'm going to go to shared folders. I'm going to say HR department, right? Or finance department, since I have that open. Let's say marketing department. Let's create another folder for marketing. So we'll create another folder for marketing, right? Create another folder here. Okay. Create another folder, new folder, marketing. Okay. And then right click, properties. I don't want to share. I just want myself to have it. I will change the everyone, right? Add, and then I will give it the read and write, and click next, and then share. So I'll copy that, copy the link, and I'll post that in our shared drive here. Right. And I'm also going to add, open that inside, and I'm going to add drawings, you know, counts, advertisements, etc. Right? And then again, nothing inside, just to show that we have data inside of it. Just again, it's fictitious. And then I'm going to change the markers here. And then I also want to test it now. Right, so I'm going to test this first. Right, so I'm just going to open up a web browser. I'm going to type in that and paste that, and then should be able to open that file to test it. So that looks like it tests fine. I'm able to open them. Fine. So that's good. And then we can share this link with the departments um, or users. So that's done. I'm going to right click on that again. I'm going to, yeah, that's already shared. I'm going to go to general sharing and I'm going to copy this full path with spaces and all. Next, and then click next. So the marketing department is now created. I can create more and more and more. Actually, let's create another one. Let's create the sales group here in New York. Sales. Sales. And then I should be able to see if I can drag something. See if I can drag my resume here. I gotta look for it. I'll look for it. I'll add it in after. So there's our sales department. Inside our sales department, I'm going to just create a text document. I will create a zip file, and I will create a shortcut. Okay. So, sorry, I'll create a new text document, and I will create a bitmap image, and that's it. So it's got the 3 files in there. I know there's no data, but again, just to show you that create our fictitious environment here. So we have our different departments lined up. Again, this will probably be on another drive. I can add another drive and just share those over, or I can add them through my shared folders path, um, and then make the change that way. But again, totally up to you. You're just testing it right now, and we will add our sales team here. Shared folder. We'll call it sales. Right click, properties, sharing. I don't want to share it, whatever. I can share it too if I want. Totally up to you. Let's share it and then click share. So once I'm able to now share it, I can copy the link and test it. So if I test that, I click test that, and there we go. There's our 3 files. So that's good to go. Done. And then hit OK. And then again, I can, change the description text for the selected objects, give it descriptions if I want. Those are multiple attribute changes that I can make. Separately, I'm able to map the network drive, right? And then map it to a specific and then connect right away. So I can call this the Y drive and then finish. So our sales team will have our Y drive. And again, if I'm on the same domain, then I should be able to access anybody who's has access to this Y drive should be able to access the sales and the marketing department. So that's shared folders. That's what shared folders is. I thought just added that for a little bit of extra measure. Um, Again, let's go back to our template machines, right? So in this instance, we're now going to, again, we're going to add character to it, and we're going to install our VMware tools first, and then we're going to turn on the firewall. Again, we can do any method we want, do the time zone, and our shared folders. I'll show you guys how to do that in our VMware tools. So this is in VMware Workstation and not Active Directory. Just make note of that, very important. So I'll show you where that is. And then we'll do the IESec. We're going to turn that off for the administrator user profiles. We're going to avoid locking our screen. And we are going to assign adapters if we didn't. And then we're going to Sysprep our machine. So we're almost there, guys. So let's install that. So if I go here, so we are going to install VMware tools, and then at the same time, I'm going to show you how to uh, add the shared folders. So in options and then shared folders, does not work yet. As soon as the only way this will work is if the VMware tools is installed, right? So we can do some other things at the same time while we're waiting here. So let's install this first. Details. Details. Oh, I'll play. Run. Continue. To continue, enter in a username and password. Should. Let's right click. Blah, blah, blah. So should be able to right click and run as admin, right? And then to continue, enter the, where is that? Yes or no here? Oh, I guess it won't let me. Okay, so we'll sign out. That's fine. We'll sign out. And we will install it. Okay, so we'll enable the administrator. Go to computer management. Users, enable. Account not disabled. We're not going to disable that account. We'll try now. Okay. Okay. Let's add. It's Ronald. Add. Okay, so we're gonna have to activate the admin on this user here. So I'll show you guys how to do that. And give me one sec, guys. Sorry. Okay. All right. There we go. So that looks right. Um, well, let's activate him. What's this as admin? Oops. Okay.
Yeah, let's do it another way. All right, so control. There's no yes here. What's happening? Ah, proceed. There we go. What? Give me 1 second, guys. Let's do this. Let's do right click. Let's do control alt delete here. Let's switch user here. Switch user is gone. We do not disable admin. What's one that with elevated? Okay, so well, I guess I disabled that by accident. I shouldn't have disabled it. It's okay. It is what it is. I'm just going to put this machine. I'll use this machine to show you guys. Same thing. This will be my server. I'll have to get back to you guys on that issue there. Just put it back to 8. No problem. Hit OK. Okay. 8. Okay. 8192. So, so we'll use this machine here. I'll just power this machine off. Shut down guest. I'll let you know um, what happens here. I'll have to take a look at this. Um, all right. Um, so here's our machine. Uh, the one I just created, which was this one here. So so we'll move this one out of the way here. So this one here. Okay, so I'll give this one another disk. That's fine. I just gave this one disk. Um, we'll leave this on VMware Net. Try to figure that one out. This is only a test machine, so this is 8 GB, 2 processor, I can add a second disk if I want, but this one I've already sysprepped and cloned, so I'm not going to do that. Again, same concept. I didn't disable the admin. I shouldn't have disabled the admin. I'm just going to troubleshoot this a little bit later because my trial admin is just a user, not part of the administrator's account. I should have given it administrative access. I could have did that by control passwords or just activate it through command prompt. I'll have to troubleshoot that a little bit further. I don't want to spend too much time troubleshooting that as we have a lot of things to talk about in this class, a lot of topics to cover. And more important, again, uh, this is ready to go. So I'm going to power this machine off. I've already sysprepped this machine and given it, um, the least memory as possible. So I'll just power this back on. Obviously, I have to create a clone out of this after, but I could create a clone out of this actually, and then but I'm not. I want to show you guys how to do that um, with the template. So we'll create another temp. But this will be on my Windows 11 template. Um, so this will be our Windows 11 template. Um, and then I'll create another template after and another class, and I'll show you guys how that looked after. Okay. So my Windows 11 machine is ready to go. 8 GB, 2 processor. Okay, it could be 16. It could be whatever you wanted to give it, but in certain cases, 8 GB is fine. 2 processors. Again, it could be one if you want, and it has to have the Intel VT on. It doesn't matter what VMnet. Make sure that we talked about this already about the different VNets and how it works on a switch. VMnet 3 cannot communicate with VMware 10. They have to be on the same VNet in order for it to communicate. So you can put as many computers as you want on the switch. And in this case, it's got 4 ports. So this port here is going to connect to that. And this port here is going to connect to that. And these guys can all talk to each other happily. So this PC cannot talk to this PC because it's on a different VLAN or VMnet. Okay. Um, hit OK. Okay. So I'm going to power this on now. I've already added character to this. I'll show you how to do that through that. This is already done. I think I've added the VMware tools already as well. And we'll use this as a clone to create a Windows 11 machine, okay? For the again, if there's any issues on your end, you trying this and not getting it, again, send me a question through WhatsApp. Again, don't disable the admin. We're going to scrap that out. We're just going to create a copy of it. So this is our out-of-box experience for this specific machine. So our out-of-box experience, like I mentioned before, there's out-of-box experience or audit. So in this case, we are going to select the questions that they want. So our home country, preferred app language, our keyboard, et cetera, et cetera. And we're going to click next. And then go to our licensing and terms and click next. And then we're going to add our administrator. Again, first name, season, month, and year. So we're going to create that memorable password. So first name, season, month, and year. And it doesn't have to be like mine. It can be like yours. It can be whatever you want it to be. Just make sure you save it. And then finish. So finalize the settings. I should be able to sign in now. Uh, Again, we can remove UAC. We remove UAC through command prompt GPOs in a production environment, but this one here is just local, so it's best not to like disable that. I would never do. I don't know why I disabled it, but I shouldn't have. But I just create a copy and just leave it as it is. So this is what we're gonna do together. Um, Again, if I want to give myself permissions, I can later on. Uh, you know, by using the two methods that I'm showing you. Enter, enter. Okay. Well, Windows R, paste, enter. Okay. Run. Okay. So again, I can add users here. Same thing. I'll create the user this way and give it the memorable password. So first name, the season, the month, and the year. Okay. And re-enter the password. All right. Click next. So our local account is created. Finish. Properties, I'm going to give it the administrators and then hit apply and then hit OK, which is the easy way to do it. So these two are both administrators, and then should be able to. So he's the administrators group, so should be good to go on that part. And then users must enter their username and password to use this. Yes, so I want both users to add their username and password. I'm not gonna remove it, but I am gonna make changes to our service accounts. So in our admin accounts, so I'm going to open up a command. Oh, sorry. We do it through command prompt, but I'm not going to show you to do that. Doesn't matter. Again, if you want, it's very straightforward, right? It would activate the user that way, right? And then activate. Yes, okay, that would work obviously. And that activates the net user, the currently logged in user, or the administrator user. So we're going to go to computer management, and there's a disk management area for RAID. It's another class. So local users and groups. So if we go to the groups and we go to the administrators, we should have both now, which is what I wanted. That way we have have that set, and then go to our users. And I'm going to properties. I'm going to make sure that password never expires. I'm not going to disable it. I just don't want him or her to change it. Uh, you know, uh, actually, yeah, change the pattern. Here we go. Okay, so we'll just do that. Never expires, and then we're not going to disable the account. Again, he's part of the administrators. Perfect. Apply. Right, okay. And then we are going to see if this works now, if we can disable it. Disable. Let's see what happens. Hit apply, hit OK. And go here. Set our password already. User cannot change the password, only the administrator can change it. And then hit OK. Same. Okay. See, I guess you can't really do that. Lie, hit OK. That's fine. Right click properties. User cannot change password. Okay, perfect. After the administrator should be disabled, deleted, or unable to log in. Okay, so that's just telling us not to do that. So that's a good option. We don't want, this is always good for backup solution, right? So we can enable our guests too. We want should enable guest, but again, I won't. We don't need these accounts. I'm just gonna leave this as is, just for on our local machines. But in Active Directory, yeah, we can lock those machines for service accounts if we want, right? Uh, so we got our two thing. I'm going to now log off. Let's see if our, okay, cannot change password. Only administrator can. Hit okay. I'm going to sign out, and then sign back in with my new users. Okay, so I'm going to log in with my Toronto admin. Now administrator should be able to install the app. So this is where the settings are in the local admin. I removed the firewall, um, time zones, right? So I turned off both firewalls. I time zones good. Power management, straightforward. Power options, right? Never cancel. All right, so that's good. And then we also had our VMware tools. Again, VMware tools, we don't need to install it. We've already installed it. I showed you guys how to install it in other videos. If you want to update it, go to packages.vmware.com and upload the package if you need to, which is good in this instance to do that, so that we can upgrade that. Let's try that now. Just make sure I have internet. Let's see. Let's get internet on this machine. So all the settings are done. Good. Right. And then my shared folder should be able to add the shared folder too now for this machine. Options, enable, and then I will map that because I want to map it all the time. I can enable until next power off or suspend. It's up to you again. We can just do this for now as we're creating the machine. Um, I'm not always enabling it. I can always go back and do it, right, if I want to. And then I will add my applications folder, which is what I want, because we're going to install Google Chrome on this machine as well too, as an application. And other applications, the line of business apps, or right? That you guys want to add after. But again, I'm just going to install Google Chrome just to make it simple. And I'm going to share this, and I'm going to share this as application shares, share, right? Name that, next, enable that, not read only, finish. Hit OK, right? And then, so that's all done. We're good to go here. Close that. Um, I'm logged in as that admin user, which is what we want. Let's try to install an application now and see what happens. So if I go to start, command, CMD, hit OK, click, command prompt, oh, right click, right, run as admin, right, and then I should be able to get that yes. So that kind of disabled that. That's okay. And this is going to be my Windows 11 machine. So again, I want to know what the host name is. I don't care what it's called. We can make those changes. It's just going to be a template machine. And then my slash user. And this will give me my SIDs. So this is where our SIDs come in. So each SID is going to be different, right? So this is one SID. The next SID is going to be different. It's not going to be the same. So just make note of the SIDs and the SID names. They're very different. Okay. So this is our SID, our security identifier. That's where we're gonna know where our security identifiers are, right? When we're trying to, um, try to figure out what that is and how that works, right? So if I want to know what it is, again, that's what I type, and this is done after we sysprep our machine, right? Right. So we check that, share folders, Internet Explorer, that we checked. Are we assigning Ethernet adapters? It's a template machine. We don't have to, but again, in my drawing, I did. I could if I want to. Doesn't matter. But I'll have to power this off. Let's go back to our IE sec to make sure that we turn that off. Again, not recommended, right? Because it reduces your exposure. But in this case, it's enabled by default for the users and the groups, right? So we can keep it on for users and keep it off for administrators. Again, it's totally up to you. If you want to read more, click on the link here. So we're going to turn it off for both. Okay, and we are going to power this off now. And settings. Okay, and I'm going to add hard disk. It's going to be new virtual disk. It's going to be 150 split. We talked about this already. It's going to be our server, right? Template. It's got 2016 installed, and then finish, right? And then we're going to add our secondary network adapter. Adapter finish, and we're going to give it internet, and then click OK or VMnet 8. So again, up to you. Okay, so with that being said, I can now power on the machine. I can actually change the, I don't think I'm able to, to change the, actually, yeah, I'll show you guys how to do that. So if I go to power, go to settings, right? And then I go here, the second disk, I want to, let's click on expand here. Specify the binding. Okay, so I can expand this here, but I can't do so because this was all done in allocated space when we installed the operating system. So we can't really decrease the size. on this one, so we're not able to test that part, but you guys kind of get the gist of it and how to do it in earlier on in this session when we were trying to create it ourselves again. Again, we're expanding this machine. We could have expanded it because we had 150 unallocated, but again, there's tools for that, partition tools where we're able to do that. But in our template machines, we need to prepare those first. Very important. Compacting, map this virtual machine to a local volume. Again, can map this drive to anything and give it a letter, right? Then, right, and then that's it, right? And cancel. So, that's all done. I don't need to change this to persistent and non-persistent. There's differences between those two. Again, those are immediate changes, persistent, and they're permanently written to the disk, whereas non-persistent, you're going to hear that a lot in VMware. And you'll hear that a lot in my VMware course when I talk about that class. We're able to change the disks and discard when the power off the virtual machines, and we can restore those, right? So again, those are modes that you can use that aren't really affected by snapshots. But again, there's the differences, know the differences between persistent and not persistent, okay? And what changes to the disk are readily available or discarded, et cetera, et cetera. Hit OK, we're not gonna do that. We can't play around with that. We did that. Okay, that's fine. It is what it is. On a Windows 11 machine, I'll do that. And then I'll click OK. So this machine is ready. I'm going to, again, sysprep the machine. Well, not sysprep the machine, but change these settings. Sysprep. Actually, you know what? I got to turn it on. Sysprep the machine again. And then set the VM, the megabytes to 4. Slider down to 4 megabytes. So that's done. We did that. We are going to now system preparation. I'll show you guys how to do that, and then use the who am I command, which is what I did earlier on, to show you the machine SIDs. Okay. So in this case, we're going to shut down the machine and check mark generalize. We're going to select the system OOB, right? And then again, this will shut down the machine forever. Why? What do you mean? Because this will prevent any of the VMs from starting by decreasing that. That's how we do that. And again, in Workstation Pro, our sliders, I guess the top is 128 down to, I think it was down to 4 MB. Again, let me verify that for the settings. So RAM, you get 128 down to 4 MB. Yeah. So we are going to, again, so this machine I gotta close. We can't use this no more. That's okay. I'll delete it, create another one. It's the best part about troubleshooting. We go through issues and we troubleshoot them together. So again, let's the character, we added character to the machine. So we're now gonna power on the machine, right? I'll get already and then sign in as a Toronto admin. Remember, guys, do not disable the administrator account. I thought it would be good, but you need 2 admins, right? And then an AD, you can actually do that through AD after. You can add and remove and create group policies and whatnot. That was my mistake. And again, we can use the control passwords. It's something else I'm going to talk about. Control passwords too. Let's talk about that. Talk about control passwords too. And then we're going to talk about that user. We talked about administrator and then slash active yes to add the administrator account if it's not there, or if it's there. We can't create copies, so we can create a new administrator. We can do that in AD. I'm going to disable that. User, on admin. Okay. So that's that. What other settings did we do? I need to double check again what we did. Um, other settings that we do. I think we never change password or something like that. We can go and double check that. Go here, and I think we created the right service account for that, which is good. Let's go to properties. Yeah, password. And not user can change the password, right? User cannot change the password. So on a server, yes, we need to keep that, so that's fine. Password never expires is good. We're not going to disable this. In AD, we should be able to disable that, not a problem. And then we're in our admin administrator group, okay? Properties, yeah, same thing here. This user cannot change the password. We should be able as admins to change the password. Actually, this operation is not allowed as it could result in administrator account being disabled. Makes sense, you know, they're trying to look out for us. Again, that was my apologies on that. Um, again, never a good idea to do that, which is best practices, right? You never want to cannot change the password. You need to change the password. It's better that you don't, so that you keep it uniform. We just don't want this password to expire. In the future, yes, there should be a set time as to when you should be able to exchange those. You can do those through GPOs as well. Local group policies, again, through a command prompt, run as admin, right? And then gp edit.msc, and then you can create those local group policies, right? Based on administrative templates, right? You have your startup scripts, and then you have your deploy your security settings, and your account policies, your password policies, right? Based on all that. But that's a different story. Make sure that you and your administrator are doing that. We're not going to be talking about that in our Sysprep course. So this is done, ready to go. I can now I can go in and out of the machine, which is what I want. I can control both. Um, good. Our template. And we're creating our machines. And then that's ready to go. So let's just prep the machine. I'll do Windows R, Sysprep. Okay, we'll Sysprep this machine. We'll hit the Sysprep again. And we are going to generalize, and we are going to give it a shutdown. Again, there's two different options. I've explained what each are. We're going to choose the OOBE and then hit OK. So our machine is now sysprepped and ready to go. We will create a again, a Windows 11 machine. I want you guys to do the same thing, um, and create that Windows 11 machine and do the same thing. And again, try with the when you're formatting the machine or when you're installing the operating system to allocate 150 as a backup for extension in case you need that, just for testing purposes. Okay. And again, you can add as much as you want. These are thin provision disks, so it's not going to use your full hard drive, right? And again, make sure when you're saving this, you're saving this into a location where you have space, because the more data you add, the more bigger the machines are. So this is our virtual machine ready to go. Again, I want you guys to create a Windows 11 machine, right? Um, again, this is just a server. I want you guys to create a Windows 11 machine. It's the same concept. You're installing Windows 11 or Windows 10, whatever you want. It's up to you. Uh, prefer Windows 11, and then go through the same steps that we did. Um, and then clone your machines. So we finished our Sysprep tool. I showed you guys already how to who are my users. Right? And then we're going to clone now. Again, let's create a clone of this machine. So the server. So we can create two types. There's two different types of clone methods, right? Two different clone methods. So we have our create a link clone, which is what we're going to use today, and we have our create a full clone. Again, the difference between the two is it's totally up to space and performance. Again, in a production environment, I want you guys to create a full clone. But again, in this instance, we need the space on our laptops, on our devices. So we're going to create a link clone, and the differences between those are, again, performance. It doesn't give you the performance. It doesn't work for the performance of it. But again, depending on your template machine, it can't run without access to the original machine. That's what a link clone is, and it uses less disk space to store, which is what we want, especially in your environment. We have a laptop, not a lot. We don't have a lot of space, hard drive capacity or RAM capacity. So it's important that we're gonna show you how to use this one. We also can create one as a full clone. It's not dependent, which is different from our link clone to the template machine, but they still work if you're delete the original machine, your virtual machine. And this also gives you the performance, but occupies a lot of space. Okay, so let's go ahead and create. We're going to go ahead and create that. Let's do that. Um, so this machine is a template machine. We're going to give it 4 MB. Okay. Okay. So even if we try to turn this on, it won't turn on. So you'll notice that it won't turn on. Yeah. So it needs more than 96 to boot up, right? That's fine. So let's power this off. We just powered off already. Okay. All right. Um, so that's that, right? Now adapters are added. We added the custom VM network 16 for this one, and then NAT for internet. We're going to create a clone. So how do we do that? So we go to the top here, and then we go to manage.
and we click on clone. Right, and this will bring us to our clone virtual wizard. We're going to click next. This is a template machine already. Next. Right, and then I think I've already cloned it, but you should be able to clone this machine. Can't really clone this twice because I've already cloned it. Sorry, guys. I think I've already cloned this, but you are going to, again, open the virtual machine, click on this, then click next from the current state, right? Because you want to clone from the current state with the applications and whatnot. So in this case, don't forget to um, add the Google Chrome instance. If I didn't, let's add the Google Chrome. Did we add the Google Chrome? Yeah, see, let's enable that for now and then hit OK, right? And then make sure you add Google Chrome, and then we should be able to add those in. So let's go back and add Google Chrome for you guys and give yourself 8 GB, 2 GB, it doesn't matter because we said we can go back to the minimum of 2 GB for the operating system. And then we can turn that back on to give us some breathing room between the three. And then if we right click on the template machine, click manage and clone, we can select the link clone method, which is what we're going to do, and then rename that. Unfortunately, I did it on this one, so I can't really show you, but it's here. The instructions are here. I'll post those in the description, okay? And we're going to use this for our next lab on for creating 3 or 4 machines. And that's going to be for the um, cloud infrastructure one, where we're going to be installing our hypervisors, and we're going to be installing um, our DHC or DC, right? And CVMM enterprise app. So again, those are all going to be the enterprise app, and the 2 hypervisors are going to be the member servers, right? Those will be meant to be DC, not meant to be a DC, which is what we don't want, but we're gonna be installing enterprise applications on those. Okay, so here is our out of box experience. Canada, yes. Per language, yes, that's good. And then what keyboard, we're gonna use US, and then click next. Accept. We're gonna put it right. We're gonna log in. And again, we should be able to, again, here's my clone, right? There was my clone that I created. So this is the clone machine that I created. And this is where it automatically cloned it. So I want to add Google Chrome. I want you guys to add Google Chrome, okay? Okay, if we make mistakes, we redo them. It's not a big problem. Going back and forth is not an issue. This is a test environment. This is not a production environment. So I'm going to install um, I want to install Google Chrome. Let's see. Again, I can have as many applications as you want. This is an in studio for packaging. This is an in studio. Let's see what else can we add. We can add what can we add our applications here. Let's add an in studio one, right? And then we have Google Chrome. Let's add this. Let's add WinZip, CN Trace. Let's add a couple apps here. Why not?
Okay. This one or this one. Let's see the trace. Okay. So these are the two applications that I want Google Chrome. I want to Putty, Notepad. Let's add a few. Um, let's uh, let's install this. Seam trace is automatically installed. Let's go ahead and install these. Create a new folder. Installer folders. Let's put this in our temp and move this here. Cut. I'm going to put this in our C drive. Paste. There you go. So this will always be here. Temp. So Google Chrome is installed. Great. Done. Okay. It's good. Pin that. And then I will install this there in case it doesn't matter. And then we'll install Putty. No, Putty is just the working folder here. Putty over there. Copy. Copy, paste. And then we'll put this here. Next. 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 And finish. And then I want to install the latest version of VMware tools. So we'll go to packages. .vmware. And this is something else I want you guys to do as well. Make changes to that. Character. Press that. Install latest one. Um, to Ethernet adapter. That's the one that we're going to do next to. So we'll do that. Why not? Let's make it work. So this is packages.vmware.com/tools. There you go. VMware tools. Again, if you have your account, you can log into your account. I showed you guys how to create an account. You can always log into your account and install that there. Releases. And then we'll go to the latest one. Our latest one is 2.4.5. We're going to 64-bit version, and we are going to install that there. If you do download the tar one, if you download the tar version of it, you can download the tar version, and you can obviously, let's see if I can show you guys here the tar version of it. If you do get a tar version of it, typically, yeah, tools, I think it's in here. No, it's right here. All right. So for example, here's a tar version of it, right? Right. You would have to um extract it to the folder, and then that would open up the zip folder. There's two ways of doing that. You can do that with a command, or you can do that with WinZip, 7-zip, right? And then you should be able to get your tool there. But that's if you use the tar version of it. They give you the tar version. So in an example where you had the tar version, you would have to use Wins 7-zip, right? Open 7-zip, right? And then extract that to the folder, to wherever you want. So for example, a subdirectory or a temp, and then you should be able to open up that file there, and it'll open it up and you can run it there. So just remember, this is going to go into our temp folder here. So we're going to cut that. We'll go to our C drive, temp, right click, paste, right? And then we'll install it. This is, all right. So we need to download it. Drag it, download it. So let's see the download section here. There's our downloads, show in the folder, and then right click, cut, go to our temp folder, right click and paste. Delete this one. Run, right click and run as admin. Run it. So this will install this will update our um, VMware tools, which is what we want. We want to keep it keep this version updated as possible in our templates, especially when we're creating our templates and we're not behind. So if there's any issues, then we know where those fixes were and how those fixes work. So we're going to just install the complete version of it and know that we're up to date. And then Google Chrome as well too. Um, Google Chrome, right? And then update that version. That way we're up to date. And did we install 1-zip? Yeah, 7-zip. So again, 7-zip, you would right click on that tar file, right click, and then 7-zip that file, and then extract it to the temp folder, and then it should work. And in the instance that I showed you, this one is the remote VMware remote controller, right? Comes in as on the website, it comes in as a uh, tar file. So, you can extract that, right? Which is what I did here. There's two methods. Again, right click, 7-zip, extract here, right? And then in that folder, it'll create a subfolder for that. Or you can use a PowerShell command or command prompt, and I'll send that off to you guys in the description below. So once that's done, I'm going to restart it. Yep, right. I'll restart it. And then I'm going to Sysprep the machine again, and then that's going to be our final copy of that. Okay, so here's our template machine. We are going to now log into this machine. It's got all the character that we want. Again, my apologies. Should have did this before. I want to make sure that you guys have it a good template, and it's not missing anything. Keeping, I like to make changes throughout my projects here, my videos, so that you guys are also aware of the things that I do. Um, you know, it's always a good idea to, you know, keep it up to date every so often, especially when you're working on a project, and that you have the updates set in case of. Um, Again, you don't have to install the updated package. It's up to you. You can if you want to. Uh, you know, just make sure everything is there. I've added a few applications like 7-zip. That you don't have to. You can add whatever you want. Putty. Um, and again, the 7-zip was because I wanted to show you um, how to open up a tar file, right? Strap for extracting a .tar .gz, which is similar file, right? And again, just a little bit better here so you guys can see that, right? So like 7-zip, what else? Google Chrome, which is important, right? 7-zip, and then Notepad plus plus. Again, this can change based on your image, your golden image that you built. So again, in SCCM or the SCCM MDT world, WDS world, you have your golden image. So that'll change based on that, right? And then we can sysprep those machines, right? And then do the appropriate changes to that. But I want to show you guys how to. Um, in our Broadcom website, it does give us a TARS. I think there's a site for that. I think it's called Software, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to look into it again. Here, let me see if I can find it here. So software dot VMware, something like that. Um, software. I don't have the site off the top of my head, but yeah, if you type in software dot VMware dot com, some of the way this is in the way. Software, software, VMware.com, right? And then hit enter. I think I have to look for that. But there is a VMRC tools. I think there's a site for that in here, if I'm not mistaken. Not this one, no, not this one. There's one, this one here. So we can download this version simply. All we got to do is again, you know, copy this link here. I'll send this off to you guys after. Copy this link and then download the tar file. So I've downloaded the tar file, for example, for remote control. And again, this might be the same for other versions. That's how you would do it. Um, put that in there for you guys. This is the link for that, to download that. And delete this for now. I'll delete this here, right? So I can show you guys, right? I'll show you guys how to do that. It's a little bit bigger. Design here, right? So if I were to click on this link here, again, these are my directories, right? And then I could download the Windows
And this is the tar file for that. So I can show you guys how to do that with WinZip. I'm going to put this in the applications folder that I'm sharing so that I'm able to pick that up for you guys. And then I'll show you guys that. Run it through zip. I think it's in here. So I'm going to log in. So our repository, that link will be sent to you guys for that, right? And then once I've logged into Toronto admin, hit enter. So I'm not gonna install them all. I just wanted to show you guys. See if I can paste it here. So save it here, application share, logos. I'm gonna save it here. Okay, so and then transfer it over to the desktop to the temp folder, and then right click and run it. Okay, so if we're doing that, I'm going to go here, okay? I'm going to go to downloads, right? And I'm going to open the folder, right? I'm going to right click, I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to put it in the applications folder that I want, right? And then applications folder, applications, and right click, right? And paste. So VMC RC tar. Okay, so let's go ahead and look for that on our machine here. Our copy. So okay, there we go. I copied it there. Should be in that folder now. If I go here and I go to my C drive, this PC here, application share, all the way down, right? Then look for the refresh. Right click, copy, go to C drive temp folder, right click, paste, right? And then here, open with zip, and I'm going to extract it to this folder here, right? And then open that up, and then I can install that remote control if I want to, based on the new version that I have. There's also a command prompt. Again, this is for vSphere client. If you want to update that, click next, finished. I don't need that. And now we should be able to sysprep the machine. Again, it's all up to you how you want to do it, just to kind of give you an idea of how I do it. I've been doing this for a long time. So we're going to sysprep the machine. Prep this time. This is going to be our beautiful template machine, our golden template machine. I'm going to run the template. We're going to generalize. We're going to shut down, and we're going to hit OK. And this will perfectly run. This is going to be our template clone.
I'm going to power it off and give it 4 MB. And once that's done, we created the clone like I showed you. And then here's our clone. We just basically give it the RAM that we're supposed to give it. So in this instance, I'm going to give it 2. For our next class, I'm going to create this is going to be our DC. It's going to have our ADDS, our DHCP, and our DNS roles. So I'll give it as much as I want. So in this case, I'll just give it 2 as a minimum for now, just so that I can run the machine. And then once I run the machine, it'll turn on. And this goes down to 4 MB and click OK. Right. And there's our clone. And then we should be able to now create clones, right? If we haven't done so. Okay. So disable the template mode. I think that was the issue there. Okay, so I think it's here, advanced, disable that, and then hit OK. So do that automatically. Okay, so now I should be able to right click, manage, and then clone that machine, right? So we should be able to clone that machine. Again, I want to do a linked clone. I explained the differences already. And then we're going to give it the name. So this is going to be server, 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 server. Okay. And I'll just call it clone for now. And then I'm going to place it in uh, our drive or their space, right? And then go to templates. And then we're going to go to Canadian template and click OK and then finish. So I've gone ahead and created the clone. Click close. And then I've created that clone. And then there's my clone here. And then give it some RAM. I'll close this one. Or off this one. No problem. And I'm going to edit this machine. And I'm going to give it some RAM. So I'll give it 2 GB minimum for now, or 4 GB for minimum, just for now, just to turn it on. And that should have our changes in character that we added. Once we log in with our Toronto admin. So again, I want you guys to create a Windows 11 machine and try it yourself. It's pretty straightforward. I want you to do the same thing for server Windows, and then make your comments, add me on WhatsApp, share your insights, share some pictures of you doing it, or videos, whatever you want. If you have any questions or comments on the WhatsApp, add me to WhatsApp, and I will add you. Or just send me a picture of who you are, what video you watched, and the questions that you have. And if I think that's appropriate, I'll add you. If not, again, good luck. Keep watching. Um, Unfortunately, it's I'm looking for serious people to help, and then we'll go from there. So here's the OOB experience, guys. You're gonna click next, leave the as is license term. We keep it as is. We're not gonna touch anything. And then we're gonna add the administrator again. Not a problem. Just add the password. All right. And then click next. And then sign in. And then sign in to your Toronto admin with your password. Remember your first name, last name, or first name, season, month, date and year, or year and date. Okay, so that way we're all okay. So again, put your password in, and then it should have the settings based on the Sysprep that we did. See, we're logging in. There's our PuTTY. There's our Google Chrome. Good. There's our network. Good. Um, again, we do want you to. I think I asked you guys to rename it, if I'm not mistaken. Um, your drives. So name it Internet Network and Bridge Network. Again, it's up to you. You don't have to or you want to, but we need to activate both clones for 180 days. So once both clones are started, we need to rename both their network cards, right? I'm not going to show you how to do this. It's pretty straightforward. If you guys are looking to do that, just send me a message and I'll send you the instructions on that, or you know, take a snapshot of this and try it on your own. It's just right click here, go to network settings, adapter settings, right click, you know, and rename. You can rename those to however you want, right? Right. That's your local network, right? Right. And then you have your host only or whatever you want to call it, right? So this is your NAT. We call this NAT rename. Again, that's totally up to you. As part of a character, if you want to add that so that you know the differences between the two. You know, when you're setting up your static IPs, you know, disable IPv6, which is another one we can add. So we'll do that too. Um, that's after, you know, we could do that before actually. We could disable IPv6. We'll add that here. Let's do this. Let's go here and I will put this here. Disable IPv6, right? And then rename both NIC cards. Again, that's optional. Okay. And that's it. Um, again, I want to thank you both. I want to thank everybody for their time and patience. I'll show you the temp before I get to so the temp, there's a temp folder below. So I want to thank everybody for their time and patience. This was a long video, but the concepts are there. Running into issues are there as well. I want you guys to see that all as we walk together and do this together. Share your insights, your comments, your share what you need to share with us. Again, add me to WhatsApp. Um, again, I do train. I do have courses. You can always ask me, send me an email, or message me on WhatsApp, and we can talk about that if you're interested. Many courses I run, um, and we can go from there. But I just want to thank everybody for the time. I hope this session was very informative. There was a lot of lessons learned here, a lot of takeaways, a lot of things you want to learn that you haven't learned and you learned today. And you're happy, please like and subscribe. All right, guys, have a great day. Okay. Cheers.